is therefore very essential. It is my hope that the partnerships and announcements made at the UN Climate Summit last Tuesday will serve to catalyze more ambitious action on climate change in the near as well as in the long term, and build the momentum necessary for a successful conference of the parties in Lima in December and in Paris in 2015. Mr. President, these are the elements of the global framework which should occupy our full attention and commitment over the course of this session of the UNGA. These elements will be supported by critical enabling actions at the regional and national levels. For us, in the context of the Caribbean community, we have been doing our part as a sub-region of small island and low-lying developing states to foster regional integration in support of the sustainable development of all our people. CARICOM heads of state and government have agreed on the vision of, and I quote, a Caribbean community that is integrated, inclusive and resilient, driven by knowledge, excellence, innovation and productivity. A community where every citizen is secure and has the opportunity to realize his or her potential with guaranteed human rights and social justice, and can contribute to and share in its economic, social and cultural prosperity. A community in which there is a unified and competitive force in the global arena. End of quote. This vision is the collective ambition of the member states of the CARICOM, agreed in the context of a strategic framework plan for the period 2015 to 19. This plan will come through the implementation of 6 integrated strategic priorities, which include building economic, social, environmental, and technological resilience through a coordinated foreign policy and research and development innovation. In support of the implementation of these 6 priorities, CARICOM heads of state and government have called for a post-2015 development agenda which will work in tandem with what we are discussing here in this 69th session, and these to focus on the eradication of poverty as a central pillar, the adopting a people-centered approach through an intergovernmentally agreed agenda, and an agenda which incorporates broader measures and appropriate approaches and criteria to complement GDP per capita as a measure of development. Importantly, these broader measures must foster an enabling global policy environment that is more conducive to the achievement of development objectives and affords greater policy coherence across institutions, including those in the areas of trade, finance, environment and development. As I conclude, Mr. President, I say that these regional initiatives in support of advancing the sustainable development of the people of the community, the CARICOM community, are being designed and implemented in the context of a broader strategy for mitigating the vulnerability inherent in countries as small and as open as ours. In a context of limited and narrow resource base, the focus is on nurturing and developing our human resources through an emphasis on innovation and entrepreneurship. It is an approach which focuses the full realization of human rights to development and a life of dignity. Consistent with this approach, I turn to another matter that is close to our hearts in the region. As we continue to advance the global cause of truth, justice and reconciliation within the context of reparatory justice for the victims and descendants of the transatlantic slave trade. As a region, we are determined to engage in reparatory dialogue with the former slave-owning European nations in order to address the living legacies of those crimes. This is a critically vital element of the socio-economic development aspirations of our region, as the victims of these crimes and their descendants were left in a state of social, psychological, economic and cultural deprivation. In addition, they have been left in a state of disenfranchisement that has ensured their suffering and debilitation today, and from which only reparatory action can alleviate their suffering. I say that sustainable development cannot be achieved in an environment where people are denied their basic rights to live free from fear, with daily deprivation of necessities of life due to the ravages of war and other types of instability. It is for these reasons, Mr. President, Trinidad and Tobago is concerned by the developments occurring in the Ukraine and other parts of the globe, which has caused pain and suffering to hundreds of innocent victims. They too must be allowed to live freely. At the same time, we note with grave concern the continued failure to find a lasting solution to the decades-old Arab-Israeli conflict, which caused tremendous loss of life and destruction of property in the Gaza Strip and left emotional and psychological scars for those families who lost almost 2,000 of their loved ones. Trinidad and Tobago remains committed to the negotiation of the two-state solution as a preferred means to bring lasting peace to the region, so the people of Palestine, so long denied their rightful place in the international community, can live in larger freedom with their Israeli brothers and sisters. And so to this end, we call for the implementation of all relevant Security Council resolutions geared towards resolution of the conflict and the lifting of the illegal embargo imposed on the Palestinian people since 2005. Likewise, Mr. President, as co-sponsors of the UN Security Council resolution on threats to international peace and security caused by terrorists, we remain optimistic that that resolution, adopted at Wednesday's summit, would be the catalyst for greater international cooperation in the fight against terrorism. We have been in Trinidad and Tobago the victims of extremists in 1990 when there was an attempted coup against the duly elected government by terrorists and extremists. And so we will agree, as I've dubbed this new stream of terrorism taking place, I've dubbed it the terrorist virus because it is spreading throughout the global family. You will agree that terrorism has and continues to undermine the sovereignty, the territorial integrity and peace and security of the peoples of the Middle East and further afield. Members of this Assembly will also recall that in my inaugural address to this body in September 2010, I indicated that the time was right for the adoption of a treaty to regulate international trade in conventional arms. It is now history that the Arms Trade Treaty has been adopted, and after yesterday's high-level treaty event, now has the requisite number of states parties for its entry into force, and that is likely to be on December 25th this year. We are very happy with that. Entry into force of the Arms Trade Treaty will require state parties to make important decisions to implement the provisions of the treaty at the first conference of state parties, which is likely to be convened by mid-2015. One of these decisions would be on the location of the Arms Trade Treaty Secretariat. Over 1 year ago, my country, Trinidad and Tobago, announced its candidature to have the Arms Trade Treaty Secretariat located in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. This bid has been endorsed by all CARICOM states, 14 of them, and has so far received the support from a number of states from diverse regions. The hosting of this very important body in a region which is disproportionately affected by the illicit trade in small arms and light weapons, and its association with other transboundary crimes such as drug trafficking, is a significant development. It will assist in the full and effective implementation of the treaty and contribute to the reduction, if not elimination, of illegal weapons in the hands of criminals whose actions continue to threaten the sustainable development of our region. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is committed to providing the necessary resources to host the Secretariat, and we have transmitted this to all members of the United Nations. Once more, I call upon all those states who have not as yet announced their support for candidature to do so, and to ensure that the principle of equitable geographic distribution in the location of major global bodies is observed. No country or region, in my respectful view, must continue to have a monopoly in hosting important institutions which are established for the benefit of all. Mr. President, Trinidad and Tobago is satisfied that among the 17 sustainable goals adopted by the General Assembly on December 10, 2014, Goal 3 is on ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all ages. The health and well-being of our people is critical to ensuring productive lifestyles which are critical to sustainable economic development, for growth, and for achieving the transformative post-2015 development agenda. Health and well-being is one of the 10 thematic areas of development identified by the Government of Trinidad and Tobago. It may be recalled that CARICOM, of which we are a member, was largely responsible for calling the attention of the General Assembly to adopt a resolution to focus attention on the effects of non-communicable diseases, NCDs, as a major contributor to human mortality. Nevertheless, whilst we continue to make strides in tackling the incidence of NCDs, we are cognizant of the need to combat the spread of infectious diseases within our region and in different regions, threatening the survival of people in many nations. This resolution, which witnessed the unanimous support that of the Secretary General, dealing with the Ebola virus, for which we congratulate Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and which resolution we co-sponsored. This is where, as members, we pledge to take action at the global and regional levels to combat the spread of this disease, to supplement the UN mission for Ebola emergency response. Trinidad and Tobago remains committed to playing our part in eradicating infectious diseases undermining the health and well-being of our people. It is for this reason, Mr. President, that prior to the passage of Resolution 2177 on the Ebola, as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, I wrote to the Secretary General of CARICOM requesting that we convene an emergency meeting of member states of our community to discuss and agree on sustainable policy responses at both the national and regional levels concerning public health issues, including Chicken V and the Ebola virus. Finally, Mr. President, you can be assured of the support of the government and people of Trinidad and Tobago in assisting the United Nations family in shaping a transformative post-2015 development agenda. Our support will come not only through our representation in the various organs of this global institution, but also by continuing to adopt policies at the national level which are geared towards putting people at the center of all development objectives. I say again, any development agenda which alienates the people or places people at the periphery and not placing people at the center will not bring sustainable development and will be doomed to failure. Such failure stands against the commitment we have all made and the purpose we serve at this conference. Mr. President, I say our work is cut out for all of us together in global partnership to achieve the goals that we have set ourselves. I thank you all very much.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago for the statement just made, and I request protocol to escort Her Excellency.